welcome back to my kitchen. Hello for the first time, how are you doing? I hope you're having an amazing week. So today's video is a little bit different. Today we're doing a Patron video. For those who don't know, I have a Patreon account which will be linked below if you're interested. There is 4 tiers, there is a $1, $5, $10 and $15. For $15 you get to choose a recipe. Part of choosing a recipe as a $15 patron isn't as simple as just telling me what you want to see. Essentially, I play a wee game. Essentially, I'll DM you and I'll ask you what kind of recipes you want to see. So I like to collect cookbooks and I have a varied selection of cookbooks. I've got old ones, Scottish ones, homesteading ones, preserving ones, normal ones too, cakes and biscuits and stuff. So what I do is I DM the patron and I ask them what kind of recipe they're looking for. I will get as many recipe books as I can think of that would be in that area. And then the patron is to pick a random number between 1 and 200, depending on how thick the book is they've picked. And from there, we will then pick the recipe that number lands on, or closest to that. We'll then agree that that's okay, and then we'll make the video. So today's pick is by Jessie. Jessie is an absolutely amazing lady. She's so lovely, and she has picked coffee buns. So she wanted to see old Scottish recipes, and this is falling to bits, but this is a recipe book from a church vet somewhere. It was like my gran's. It's old, it's really old, but it's also very cute because it has a recipe for recipe for happiness at the front, which I'm going to show you now. How cute is that? So she picked a very, very old book and she picked a number and it landed on coffee buns. So coffee buns is a recipe given by Mrs. Turnbull. So I assume that this is a collection of recipes by people that attend the chapel or the church, because they all have names on them. There's like Mrs. Murray, Mrs. McKinnell, Mrs. Sharp, Mrs. Nicol. So yeah, this recipe is by Mrs. Turnbull. So we're going to try this today. It does seem really simple. The only issue I had with this recipe is that, do you know what? Let's get to that in a minute. So let's make Jessie's pick of coffee buns. Today's video is sponsored by all of the flies that have made their way into my house because it's hot outside and I have windows open. And I'm raging about it because I'm not going to spray chemicals on them because I've got babies and doggies, but these flies are really doing my head in. Anyway, let's preheat our oven, and on this it says 180 degrees Celsius or number 4, which is gas. So I'll show you somewhere on the screen here what that is in Fahrenheit and also fan oven. So let's start with preheating our ovens. So the problem that I had, right, is it says margarine, then it says Trex or cooking. So they don't make cooking anymore. And apparently they do make Trex because I got talking to the lady at Morrison's that was serving me at the counter. So I had been to Tesco's, Asda, Iceland's Farm Foods and Morrison's. Morrison's was my last shop. And I got speaking to the lady, as you do, because I'm chatty to the ladies at the scanning. Anyway, so she says they definitely still make Trex. She's definitely still seen Trex. She says it comes in like a box with like a lid. I couldn't find it anywhere, but I'm aware that it's a vegetable shortening. It doesn't tell me what it is in this, but I'm aware that it's a vegetable shortening. But it's not like suet. So I can't use like vegetable suet, which is grainy and like bobbly and stuff. And I don't want to use lard because that's pork fat, not vegetable fat. But when I spoke to my gran did say that You can use lard, but I don't trust it. I'm not sure. So I got this thing, right, which is, this basically says baking block, right? And the reason I got this is because it is vegetables, mostly. It's vegetable fat. And that's what we're looking for, is like a vegetable fat. But it says you need to use margarine and Trex or cooking. Something tells me that margarine is also just vegetable fat. So here's margarine, right? Yeah, it's very much the same. So I think what I'm going to do to combat this is use this as my vegetable fats, and then instead of using margarine, I'll use butter. We'll see how that goes, right? If all else fails, I do have some lard. So for the method, it says cream, margarine and sugar, add the egg and beat well, add the fruit, then the flour. Wait. It doesn't tell me in the description where to put the fat. Method, cream, margarine and sugar, full stop. Add egg and beat well, full stop. Add fruit, then flour, full stop. Beat well, full stop. Roll into balls, full stop. Brush over with egg, full stop. Bake for 10 to 15 minutes, full stop. Until golden brown, full stop. I don't know why there's so many. Cool on wire tray. Mrs. Turnbull, where do I put the Trex and cooking? Where did I put it? Excuse my language. I went to so many shops today, Mrs. Turnbull, to find this fat. And yeah, maybe I'm to blame for not reading the instructions, right? But I just read your ingredients, hen, and I assumed you knew what you were talking about. But here I am going to all these shops to try and find fat that I don't even need to use. So one can only assume, then, that it's one or the other. So, we're going to scrap everything I've just said for the past 10 minutes. We'll just use margarine. We'll just use margarine. Swear to God, Mrs. Turnbull, this is so old that you're probably dead by now, and I don't want to speak ill of the dead. God bless you. But it's not very clear. You guys would have seen the instructions to this at the start of this video. If I'm just being an idiot and it's clear as day to you guys, feel free to roast me in the comments. But here I am, bewildered and bemused. The recipe is also in ounces. I don't mess around with ounces, so I'm going to convert all of this into grams and I'll be right back. 2 ounces of margarine, which is 56.6 grams. 4 ounces of demerara sugar, which is 113.3 grams. So 113 grams. So we need to cream these together. So I'm going to put them in my stand mixer and cream them with a paddle attachment. Okay, I lied to you and I used the blowing whisk. They are now creamed and we're going to add an egg and we're going to put it back in the stand mixer and whisk it again. You could probably just use this like an actual hand whisk to do this. I don't know why I'm using a stand mixer, but here we are. So add your egg and then beat well, Mrs. Turnbull says. Okay, so we have an egg beaten in here. It now tells us to add in the fruit, the flour, then beat well again, then roll into balls. So in the same bowl, let's measure that stuff. So it says fruit, but it's actually just raisins. Raisins is fruit, but fruit to me, the word fruit makes me think of several fruits. She could have just wrote add raisins. So we're adding the raisins. It's 2 ounces, which again is 56.6, so do 56 grams. Oh, there we go. Cool. And then the flour, 8 ounces of flour, 226 grams. And it's self-rising flour. I'm not usually a self-rising kind of guy, but here we are. If you don't have self-rising flour, you can make your own. There should be recipes online for that. I'm pretty sure it's like 100 grams of flour is 1 tablespoon of bicarbonate of soda. Don't quote me on that though, I'm just pulling that right out my head. If you want to make your own self-rising, Google it. Anyway, 226 grams of flour. I recommend sifting this. I obviously haven't, but that's okay. Oh, that's quite a lot of flour, I think. Now it says beat well, so we'll do that, we'll beat it well. Cool, we're left with what looks like a very satisfying dough. It looks like a half decent cookie dough. So now this is roll into balls, brush over with the egg, and then bake for 10 to 15 minutes until golden brown. Then cool on a wire tray. So I'm going to use my macaron paper because I feel like it. So let's just start rolling this into balls. I'm going to take my watch off and my friendship bracelet off. I'm going to wash my hands. Mrs. Turnbull, you've told me to put the egg in the recipe and then you're saying brush over with egg. So you're telling me my recipe needs 1 egg, but actually if it needs 1 egg, then you didn't tell me to hold back any eggs, and now I need to crack a brand new egg. Tell you woman. It's a good job I've got me in 1 egg, Mrs. Turnbull. It doesn't tell me how many it makes either, or how big the balls need to be. I'm assuming that this recipe, the cookies will sort of, like if it's a ball they'll flatten, so I need to leave room for them to spread. It's not a great amount of recipe anyway, but that's probably a bit too big. So maybe that, maybe like a golf ball. I think this might make 6 that size. It's not the easiest thing in the world to roll, I'll be honest. Oh, this is not a nice dough to like be messing around with, especially not having to roll it into balls, you know. Oh, Jesus Christ. So here are the balls that we've made. Here is our eggy wash, and we're just going to, as I say, I think these are going to spread out, so I want to try and get some of this egg on the sides if I can as well. So just slap that brush right up the sides. That is Bronson eating some cookie dough off the floor. Nice. Bronson, could you not, pal? That noise is unattractive. Thank you, love you. I really want to sprinkle some more sugar on there, but I won't. I'll do whatever Mrs. Turnbull tells me to do. Right, so we're going to stick this in the oven now. Oh, excuse you, brush. We're going to stick this in the oven now for 10 to 15 minutes. Straight out of the oven. Now, first impressions, they look like scones. Oh, but they're soft. Okay, so it does say to cool on a wire tray. So we're going to transfer this onto a wire tray somehow. Probably not ideal for them to still be on this silicone mat, but the mat will cool down pretty fast. I mean, it's already fine to touch. So I'm going to leave these on here to cool down, and we'll see what they're like once they're cool, and we'll have them with a wee cup of tea. Now what I was thinking though, right, is for a coffee bun, there's no coffee in them. But it must be because the demerara sugar, they must be good with the coffee maybe? I mean, they smell really good. They smell really good. But what's not to love? It's like sugar and butter and stuff, eh? It smells like scones, to be quite honest. Anyway, I'll see you once they're cooled down and we'll try them together. Okay, so these are nice and cool now. So we'll just transfer them all here. Again, they're scone-ish to me, but let's try and snap one. Show you the inside. Yeah, they look really scony to me, scone-like. So this is what they look like, so let's try them. Hi, okay, so here is the one we've snapped, and they smell okay. Don't smell like anything exciting. Tastes like a scone. Right, I'm going to put some butter in this because it's quite dry. 2 seconds. I think, honestly, if I had put them as a higher, these would just pass as scones. They're very crumbly. Oh God. Yeah, they're very crumbly. I can't really, I've just put a slather of butter in there. That's a lot of butter. Right, okay, let's try it. Definitely much better with butter. I mean, they're tasty enough. They're not offensive in any way, shape or form. They're very simple, very basic. Something you could definitely see being sold at like a church fete or whatever, or a fair. Would I make them again? Maybe. I think if I couldn't be bothered with actually making scones and I wanted that scony flavour, I'd just make these. Certainly if I was to make these again, I would just use straight up actual butter, maybe a bit of vanilla, a wee bit of salt, but yeah, not offensive, they're okay. If you like this video, please consider liking and subscribing, it really helps me out in the algorithm and with everything else. Thank you so much Jessie for being a patron and for picking this recipe for me to make today, I really appreciate it. If like Jessie you want to support me on Patreon, the links are down below. If you don't, that's totally fine, I totally get it. I also have merch, if you're not into that either, that's totally fine too. All links to any support will be down below, and I'll hopefully see you next time. Bye! Back to my channel.